Guys, if you are new to my channel, then please subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon to get the notification for upcoming videos. Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to talk about what is test cases and or you can say what is test case design. So this video is all about test cases, guys, where we'll discuss about what is test scenario, what is test case, how to write good test cases, and what is the format of test cases, what are the different sections in test case format, what are the different parameters, and so this video is very important for if you are a beginner in software testing or if you want to learn software testing. So guys, we have already spoken about software testing lifecycle, where we have discussed about requirement analysis, project planning, test design, test execution, defect reporting, and test closure. So these are the different stages in software testing lifecycle, where we have already discussed about the requirement analysis and project planning. So project planning we have discussed in the previous videos, where we talked about what is project plan, and later on we have discussed about test strategy and the difference between test plan and test strategy. Now today we'll focus on test case design, guys, test design or test case design, where we'll discuss about what is test scenario, test cases, what is test cases, and how to write good test cases, and we'll discuss about the format of test cases. So let's get started. So what is test scenario? Let's talk about test scenario first, and then later we'll move towards test cases. So what is test case, test scenario or test case scenario? So let me take an example. We have this Facebook application where we have login page. So let's say this is login page where we have username field, password field, and we have sign in button or submit button, and we have sign up button as well. So this is for existing user who wants to sign in, put the username and password field and password, and click on sign in button. So user should able to log in into the application, this Facebook application. And for new user we have this sign up button for new for user registration, right? So what is the functionality here? So we have this login functionality, correct? So this is nothing but one scenario, one test scenario. So what is test scenario, guys? So basically test scenario is any functionality that can be tested is called test scenario. So here this is login functionality which we need to test. So this is one scenario. Okay, another scenario could be this is sign up page, correct? So this is user registration is another scenario. So we have two scenarios over here. One is login functionality scenario and another one is user registration. Now if we talk about test cases, right? So test cases is nothing but set of actions executed to verify a particular feature or functionality is called test cases. Now we derive the test cases from test scenario. Here we have login functionality. So what are the possible test cases of login functionality? So let's talk about it. So first is valid user and invalid password. So this is one set of test cases, right? One set of test case of login functionality, like we'll enter valid user and invalid password. And for this test case we'll write the complete steps, guys, like navigate to Facebook page, and user should be able to see the login page and enter valid user and invalid password. Okay, so user should not be able to log in for this case. So that is a test case, set of actions, right? Another test case could be invalid user and valid password. That is another test case. What is the third test cases, right? We have, let's say if we have already registered user, so valid user and valid user and valid password. So this is positive scenario. Okay, positive test case. So these two are negative one, and these two are negative one, and this is positive test cases, right? So we derive the test cases from test scenario. Now let's talk about the relationship between test scenario and test cases. Hope you understand, guys, what is test scenario. So any functionality that can be tested is called test scenario. Here we have login functionality and user registration. And test cases is nothing but the set of actions executed to verify any particular feature or functionality. Now let's talk about the relationship between test scenario and test cases. Okay, so we have already spoken about the requirement analysis. So BA provides business requirement document, and software requirement specification, functional requirement specification. So these are the different requirement documents we have. So how to derive the test scenario? Okay, so we should have some documents, or if you have application knowledge, then we can derive the test scenario. So we may derive the test scenario from different documents as well, like BRD, SRS or FRS. So test scenario is derived from these documents, test scenario, and test cases will be derived from test scenarios, test cases. So let's say we are testing this Facebook application, and here we have 10 number of scenarios we have identified. For a particular feature we have identified 10 scenarios, and there could be 10 test cases or more number of test cases. So let's say each scenario has 5 test cases. So 50 test cases will write for this functionality for this number of test scenarios. So this is the relationship between test scenario and test cases, guys. So many people are getting confused, like what is test scenario and what is test cases. So this is how you can relate easily, and you can explain in interview as well if this question will be asked in interview. Now let's talk more about like what happens if we don't write the test cases. One question. Okay, so if we don't write the test cases, so what happens? So we are not able to test the 100% functionality of the application if we don't write the test cases. Why? Because we just randomly executing the application based on our experience, and we have not documented the test cases. So we may not achieve the 100% coverage. So we may miss some functionalities as well. Now another point is, if you don't write the test cases, so what happens is, let's say we are executing in multiple cycles. So in first cycle, let's say we have executed 80 test cases. Next cycle we have executed 90 test cases, and third cycle we have executed 100 test cases. So we may miss the functionalities or some test cases if you don't document it, right? So this is the biggest drawback of not writing the test cases. Now the question arises here is, what are the importance of test cases, or why do we need to write the test cases? Okay, so what are the points, guys? So better coverage. So the first thing is better coverage. First point is better coverage of the application. So we'll derive the test scenarios from different documents, and we'll write the test cases, so we'll get the very good coverage of the application. And the second thing is, we can improve the quality of this application, so we do the better, we'll write better coverage of the application, and if we write good test cases, then we improve the quality of the application as well, because we will get good amount of defects and good defects. So definitely the quality of application will be improved. Another thing is, for tracking purpose, when we write the test cases, so we have proper tracking of the test scenario. We have traceability matrix, where we have tracking of everything, like what are the number of scenarios we have, and what are the number of test cases we have, what are the defects aligned to the failed test cases. So we have for tracking purpose, we need to write the test cases. So this is about test cases, guys. So let me just move on to the next slide, where we'll discuss more about the test cases, some theoretical stuff. So test case design refers to how to set up your test cases. It is important that your tests are designed well, or you could fail to identify bugs and defects in your software testing lifecycle. Okay, so test case design refers to how to set up your test cases. So it is the complete process of writing the test cases. It is responsibility of a tester to design the test cases. To design the test cases, tester should understand the requirement, identify the scenario, design the test case, review the test cases, and update the test cases based on review. So these are the important points while writing the test cases. And in a team, if we work in a team, so one person may think about it's testing is all about analytical skills, guys. So one person may derive 5 test cases, another person for the same functionality will derive 10 test cases. So this happens in testing. So it is collective team effort when we write the test cases. So we should understand the requirement properly, identify the scenario and design the test cases, review the test cases. So this is also very important for the coverage perspective. So maybe let's say we have written the test cases, and when we get it reviewed from our peer or from our test lead, so they may have some more number of scenarios where we need to write test cases, or we may change some of the test cases as well. So review is very important when we write the test cases. Let's move on to the next slide. How to create good test cases, right? So test cases need to be simple steps, transparent and easy to understand, and each and every test case should be traceable, and it should be linked to requirement ID in traceability matrix. So I'll discuss, already I have spoken a little bit about traceability matrix, so we will discuss more about, I'll create a separate video on traceability matrix as well going forward. Test cases should have only necessary and valid steps, brief and short. So it should be very brief and short as well, so that everyone can understand. Implement testing techniques like positive and negative test cases in your when you write test cases. Test cases should be written in such a way that it should be easy to maintain, and test cases should cover the usability aspect in terms of ease of use. So you need to write the test cases in a such a way that you are the end user, okay? You are the navigation and everything you need to consider while writing the test cases. So you should, the steps should be very much clear, guys. So like you are using the application like end user. Different set of test cases should be prepared for basic performance testing like multi-user operations and capacity testing as well. And test cases for security aspect should be covered, for example, user permission, session management and logging methods as well. So even we have separate tools for security testing or performance testing, but while doing the manual testing also we should consider these points as well, like performance and security aspects, okay, while writing the manual test cases. So what is the test case design format, right? So this is the test case design format, guys. It depends on companies to companies also. Some of the columns may not necessary over here, but this is the standard test cases design format. Probably I'll create a separate video also where I'll show you real-time test case design as well, some test cases as well. So this is the format where we the first one is we write the project name over here and module name. Let's say our project is Facebook and we'll testing the login functionality. So login module. Reference document, let's say we are referring BRD document, FRS, whatever documents we are referring, so we need to just mention over here who is the author of the test case. So we need to write the tester name over here, date of creation and date of review, who is reviewing the test case and date of review as well. Now test case ID. So how to write the test case ID? So let's say we are writing for login functionality, so test case underscore, we will write the project name. So this is FB underscore login functionality. So login, so it will be like this, guys, test case underscore project name underscore login. So it should be very much meaningful, and then we have number like 001. This is test case 1. So this should be the format of test case. Let's say user registration, so here test case tc underscore fb underscore user registration underscore 002, like this. So this is the format of test case ID and the scenario. So we'll write like login scenario here and test case. So what is the test case? So let's say valid user or invalid user, like that we will write over here. The summary of test case, what we are going to achieve as part of this test case, right? So we want to test like test the login functionality with valid user and invalid password, like that. And what is the precondition? So precondition is nothing but the requirement should meet, the application requirement should meet before we are executing the test case, right? So what are the precondition for this one? So the site is up and running, right? FB page is up and running, and user should be user should have username and password, okay? Or we can say like it is connected to Wi-Fi, like testing Wi-Fi. We may have different like Wi-Fi when we work in application, like for different application we have different Wi-Fi connectivity as well. So these are the precondition, like application should be connected, and we have proper Wi-Fi connectivity. And what about the priority? So priority is important, like how important our test case is. So we may assign some priority to our test case, and based on that, when we get the defect, we may assign the priority to we will assign the priority to our defects as well. So we'll give the priority. Test steps. Now here we'll write the test steps. So what are the steps of this login functionality to test the login functionality? Okay, so first one is navigate to FB page, and the second one is enter username and password, and third one is click on sign in button. So these are some of the steps of writing the test cases. Test data. So here we'll provide the username and password which we are using for this particular test case, and expected result. Expected result is nothing but what should be our expected result for this particular test case. So in this case we have invalid valid user and invalid password. So what should be the expected result? We should get invalid password error message. So that is expected result. And post condition, what happens after executing this test case? So we should get error message, right? What is the post condition? What happens after executing this test case? That is nothing but the post condition. Actual result is user should not able to log in. That is the actual result. And status fail in pass. So if these two are matches, expected and actual, so we'll write if they are matching, then it is pass. If they are not matching, then it will be failed, right? So this is the format of test case design, guys. So let's move on to the next, where we'll discuss just recap what we have discussed so far. So follow below steps to create test cases. So test case ID, it is unique number to represent each test cases. It's good practice to follow some naming convention for better understanding and discrimination purpose. Like this is the proper naming convention of writing any test case. Test scenario. A test scenario is defined as any functionality that can be tested, which we have discussed earlier. It is a collective set of test cases which helps the testing team to determine the positive and negative characteristics of the project. Test scenarios are derived from test documents such as BRS and SRS. What is test case? Test case is a set of actions executed to verify a particular feature or functionality of your application. Test cases are focused on what to test and how to test, and test case is mostly derived from test scenarios. What is precondition? The condition to be satisfied to test the requirement, right? So that is precondition. Conditions that need to meet before executing the test case. So that is precondition. Priority. The importance of the test case is called priority. It is parameter to decide the order in which defect should be fixed. Priority means how fast defect has to be fixed is called priority. So we'll prioritize our test cases as well, and whenever we get the defects, we'll prioritize our defects as well. We'll discuss about priority and severity of defects in defect lifecycle. So test step describe. Now let's talk about test steps. So test steps describe the execution steps. To execute test cases, you need to perform some actions. Each step is marked pass or fail based on comparison results between the expected and actual outcome. Test data. It is data created or selected to satisfy the execution preconditions and inputs to execute one or more test cases. We need to have proper test data to execute the test steps. Expected result, the output result as per requirement, as per SRS or FRS, the result which we expect once test cases were executed is called expected result. We have post conditions that need to be achieved when test cases was successfully executed. Actual result, the output result in the application once test cases was executed, and capture the result after the execution. Based on the result, the expected result, we set the status of the test cases. If they are same, expected and actual result, so that means the test case is passed. Status, the status as pass or fail based on expected result against the actual result. Okay guys, so if the actual and expected results are same, mention it as passed, which we have discussed, else make it as failed. And if test fails, it has to go through the bug life cycle to be fixed, which we'll discuss in coming videos. Other important fields of test case template, so we have project name, which we have seen in the test case format. We have module name, reference document, mention the path of the reference documents if you have any, like requirement document, test plan, test scenarios. Author, created by, the name of the test author, name of the tester who created the test cases. Date of creation, when the test cases were created. Date of review as well, when the test cases were reviewed. So these are some different other points which we need to mention as part of test case document. Maybe there will be a separate worksheet as well. Generally we used to make in Excel document, and there is a separate section called revision history, where we'll mention who is reviewed, what is the review date, and all those things as well. And reviewed by, name of the tester who created the test cases, who reviewed the test cases. There is a spelling mistake over here. Executed by, name of the tester who executed the test cases. And the date of execution, when the test cases was executed. Comments include value information which helps the team. If you have any comments about particular test case, the execution comments, or if you're while writing the test cases as well. And once we write the test cases guys, so it's very important to review the test cases. So after preparation of the test cases, review are conducted to ensure the completeness and correctness of the test case. So completeness is nothing but, let's say one team member written the test cases, and it is getting reviewed by the another team member. So he or she may have some more number of, may come up with more number of scenarios. So that is nothing but the completeness, whether it is the written by the first tester completed or not, right? So it will be checked in the review process checks the completeness of the test cases, and correctness, whether those steps are correct or not, that will be taken care based on this review process. So this is all about today guys. So if you have anything, if you have any questions, then please comment it, and please like this video, share it, and subscribe the channel if you are new to my channel. Then this is all about today guys. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to showcase you the test case template, the real-time test case template guys, which you can see right now in my screen. So in the last video we have spoken about test case design, what is test scenario, what is test case, and how to write test cases. Also we have seen the format of the test case. So today I'm going to showcase you the real-time test case template which we are using while working in any company. So this is the standard template guys, which we are following in any company when we work for any company. So format might be different here and there, but mostly this is kind of a standard template, so you can refer this. So this video is very important for beginners who working as a manual tester in any company as a beginner, and this is very important who wants to learn software testing. So as part of this template, I have captured couple of test cases for Facebook application guys, so which we are going to talk about it, like what are the test cases I have captured over here, couple of test cases. And this template has 4 tabs, 4 worksheets. We have summary of the test cases, what are the details about the project and testing. We have summary tab, we have functional testing tab, where we have written the test cases. We have defect tab as well, defects, where in case if you don't have any tool, defect tool in your company, then you can utilize this worksheet for to raise the defects. And we have regression testing tab as well, where you can capture your regression suite and execute your regression cases as well. So let's talk about one by one all the tabs which we have captured over here. So we have summary as part of this template, okay, and here we have written couple of test cases of Facebook application. Okay, so here we have project name. In summary tab we have project name or number. So since we are using Facebook application, so simply you need to mention project name or project number. So let's say we have project Facebook, this is project name. Let's say we have given some number, so project Facebook 01 is my project number. Test case authoring date, so what is the date which you have started authoring the test cases. What is the application, again you need to mention over here Facebook application. And authoring effort, what is the effort you put while writing the test cases, so you need to mention over here like 30 minutes. And execution effort, once test cases have been written, now you are executing the test cases, so what is the execution effort over here. So this is kind of summary of all the testing effort, testing fees, right. Plan author, who written the test cases, you need to mention the tester name over here. So let's say tester 1 written this test cases. Now test case execution date, what is the execution date, what is the version, what is the environment you are performing on, test environment or dev, you need to mention over here. And execution time, again actual time, what is the execution time over here, so you can put it over here, what is the execution time over here. And executed date is done. Executed by, who executed the test cases, so let's say tester 2 executed these test cases, so you need to mention in this particular section about the who executed the test cases. Now what next, we have test status as well, so you need to put the status like it is in progress or completed or pending, whatever status of your testing you need to put over here. Scope of the testing, again you need to put in this particular section. Test purpose or objective, what is the objective of your testing, you need to mention. Setup requirements or considerations, so if you have some considerations or requirements, you need to put it over here. Notes or special instruction while testing, so again you need to mention here. Database changes, hard work or network specification, you need to mention over here. Items not included in the test, whatever the requirements which are out of scope, you need to mention over here. Which are in scope, you need to mention over here. Out of scope, right. Assumptions while testing, you need to mention here. So worksheets in test plans, what are the, so you can say this is kind of mini test plan as well guys, because we are putting all the testing details over here, so you can say this is mini test plan as well, this template particularly. And all the projects should have functional testing, regression testing, worksheet. So we have functional testing and regression testing, and new worksheet can be added in case of multiple modules. So if you have multiple modules to test, so you can add extra worksheet as well. Defect list, so we have defects tab. Now let's talk about the next worksheet, which is functional testing. So we have seen what is the naming convention of our test. Okay, so we put all the test cases over in this particular worksheet. So the first column is test script. So we have seen in the last video guys what is the naming convention. So test case TC and name of the project, and what is the functionality which we are going to test, login functionality, and 001 is the number, test case number. The second column is requirement. So let's say we are referring business requirement document where we have different business requirement points, so it belongs to 1.1. so you need to mention business, what is the BR number. And script description, what is the script description of your test. So verify login functionality of Facebook login page with valid user and password. So this is the summary of like script description about your test case. Systems, so FB login page. Prerequisite or precondition. So system should be connected to internet, that is the first criteria. And second thing is FB site should be reachable up and running. And now we have next column as step number. So we have written all the steps over here. So the first step is open the FB site, which this is the site, guys. So we need to open this FB site, and as part of test data we have just provided the URL, whatever URL like username, password. Here we have provided username, password, and here we have URL as test data, right? We need to provide the staging environment URL, or wherever we are executing our test cases, like dev environment or testing environment or staging environment, we need to provide the URL. So what is the expected result against this one? Step description. User should be able to open the URL when we follow these steps. Open the FB site, so user should be able to open the URL. Next is actual results. So this is expected results, we are expecting this behavior. And actual results, URL is opened successfully. And last column is status. So if expected result is matching with actual results, then status should be passed. It should be passed, right? So if both are same, then it should be passed. In case if it is not matching, if actual result is not matching with expected, then we need to mention it as fail. Now let's talk about the next step. Verify the login page. So let me just open the Facebook login page, facebook.com. So this is the Facebook login page, guys, where we need to enter email address or phone number and password, and we have login button, and we have create new account as well, forgotten password as well. So this is the login page of Facebook, and here you can see verify the login page in step number 2. What are the expected result we should get when we when we navigate to login page? So the email address or phone number text box should be displayed, password text box field should be present, login button should be present. So these are the expected results on login page, right? And corresponding we should have actual results. So email address or phone number text box are displayed, and corresponding we need to write for every actual results, guys. So here you can see the email address or phone number text box should be displayed. So in the this is for the first point, actual result corresponding to the expected result. For the second one, password text field should be present. So password text box is present. Third one is login button is present. So these are the actual results, and all are matching with the expected results, so we'll make it as pass. Third one is enter valid username and password. So we need to enter valid username and password as part of our test case. So this is the test data, username and password, and user should be able to enter user should be able to enter username and password. What is the actual result? Username and password entered successfully, and status is pass. What is the last step? Click on login button. After entering the username and password, we need to click on login button. So here we have written user should be able to log in into the FB application, and user is logged in successfully, that is pass, because expected result is matching with actual results. And this is part of first case test case, guys. Now if you talk about the next test case, we have new account creation. So test case underscore FB underscore new account creation 002. So here you can see after entering username and password, click on login button. Okay, sorry, for new user, this is for existing user, and suppose you don't have account, so you need to create the account. So you need to click on this create new account button. So sign up page should be displayed, this pop-up window should be displayed when you click on this create new account. So here I have written verify new account creation in FB application, FB sign up page as part of this column. Now what are the prerequisites? System should be connected to internet, FB site should be reachable up and running, and user should have valid email address or mobile number. So then only you should be able to sign up. When you have valid email address or valid mobile number, then only you should be able to sign into, then you can sign into Facebook page or Facebook application, right? Until unless if you don't have a valid email address or mobile number, because it will send you some OTP for verification on your mobile number and email address or email address. Okay, so these are the steps as part of these test cases, guys. The second test case, so you can just go through it, which I have written over here. User should be like, first couple of points are same, I guess. Create, verify, create new account button on login page. So here we have, and corresponding we have actual results and status of our test cases. So this is all about test case template, guys. So if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment box if you have any doubts. So this is all about today. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to cover an important topic, that is test design testing techniques, and this is an important interview question as well. So guys, earlier we have covered what do you mean by test scenario, what is test case, and how to write the test cases, and I have shown you the format as well. We discussed about real-time test template as well. Now today we'll focus on what are the different test design testing techniques available. Now if you see the process, guys, whenever we get the requirement from the customer, like business requirement document or FRS, so we have different requirement points, right? Business requirement points. Then we need to convert them into test scenarios. We derive the test scenarios. From test scenarios we write the test cases, right? Different test cases. So this is the simple process which we used to follow. Then the question arises here is why we go for test design testing techniques, correct? If you write the simple, if you cover all the BR points, business requirement documents, and when we cover them to test, when we cover all the scenarios and written the test cases, then why we go for test design testing techniques? So there are a couple of points, guys, which and that is the reason we go for test design testing techniques. So what are those points? Those are important points. The first one is better coverage of your testing, better coverage of all the scenarios, right? So using these techniques we can cover maximum number of scenarios, and we can derive the maximum number of test cases, like all the permutation and combination. So our test cases will have the better coverage. So that is one of the reasons. And the second reason is to write effective test cases. So to write effective test cases we need test design testing techniques. So what do you mean by effective test cases, guys? So using these techniques we can write some test cases in such a way that it will find maximum number of defects or good defects. So that is nothing but the effective test cases. So these are the two important points, and because of that we go for test design testing techniques, and that these 2 points are very, very important in testing. So let's talk about what are the testing techniques available, guys, test design testing techniques. So we have boundary value analysis. So this is the first one, boundary value analysis. We have equivalence class partitioning. Third is decision table testing, state transition, and fifth one is error guessing testing. So these are the 5 types of test design testing techniques, guys. So let's talk about each one of them in detail from coming slides, from the next slides. So let's talk about boundary value analysis. So the technique is specified to validate the boundary validations, correct? So the name itself says boundary value analysis. So we test the application on for particular field, we test on boundaries, right? So that is nothing but boundary value analysis. It is based on testing at the boundaries. We will be testing both the valid and invalid input values in the boundary value analysis. Now conditions are like maximum, minimum and maximum, minimum -1, maximum -1, minimum +1, maximum +1. So these are the 6 conditions. So let me give you an example so that you can understand better. So let's say, guys, you are applying for a job in any company's portal. You are applying for a job and you are entering your details, all the information there in the form, like first name, last name, and we have some email address. So similarly we have one age field as well, age input box. There you need to specify the age as well. And for this particular job we have age criteria, so like from 20 to 35. If you have falling in this category, like 20 years to 35 years, then you can apply for this job. So it should throw an error if you enter like if you are 19 years old or if you are 36-year-old, correct? So this is the basic application, like basic criteria for this particular form. Now how you derive the test cases, boundary value analysis, how do you do that, right? So minimum point is, let's say minimum is, our minimum value is 20 and maximum is 30, correct? And we have condition minimum minus 1. So what is minimum minus 1? 20 minus 1, 19. 20 plus 1, minimum plus 1, 21. How about the at maximum side? Maximum minus 1, 34. Maximum plus 1, 36. So these are the 6 test cases, guys. From here we derive the 6 test cases. So no need to test each and every value like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 like that. So we derive the test cases based on boundary value, like based on these minimum and maximum values. So these are the conditions like minimum plus 1, minimum minus 1, minimum plus 1, maximum, maximum minus 1, maximum plus 1. And you can consider like this is x, this is y. So this is x minus 1, this is x plus 1, and this is y plus 1, and this is y minus 1. So what are the invalid conditions over here? Like, so 19, it should not take 19, correct? And 36, all are positive test cases. All, it should accept all the values like 20, 21, 34 and 35, because this is under this criteria 20 to 35 range. And why we go for this boundary value analysis? Why do we need? So what happens is developers generally make a mistake while developing the application. So let's say for this particular scenario, let's say while putting the criteria or while putting the condition, like if else, if they have mentioned like if age is greater than 20. So let's say if developer put the criteria like this, if age is greater than 20, so it should accept above 81 only, right, based on this condition. So we should specify like age is greater than or equal to, so it should take 20 as well. So that is the reason we generally do boundary value analysis. Using these testing techniques, we write the test cases based on boundary values. So this is an example of boundary value analysis, guys. So let's move on to the next slide where I'll talk about another example of boundary value analysis. So password field accepts 6 to 32 characters, then we only test for minimum 6, maximum 32, minimum minus 1 5, minimum plus 1 7. Similarly we have maximum side, so it should take 6 to 32. So what are the invalid values here? So minimum minus 1, this is invalid, and maximum plus 1, this is invalid values. All, it should take all the characters like 6 characters, 6 digit, 7, 32 and 31, correct? And the next one is these 6 conditions are enough for password field testing. So we derived 6 test cases for this password to validate this password field. Now let's talk about the next, guys. So next one is equivalence class partition. What do you mean by that? So the technique is specified to test the valid and invalid combination. So what do you mean by that? The idea behind this technique to divide a set of test conditions into groups or sets that can be considered the same. So let's say we have range of values, we have different sets of or different range of values. So we divide them into different partitions. So that is part of this equivalence class partitioning. Now each partition we take one value and we will test the our application. So I'll take an example as well. I'll give you an example. It is a black box testing technique or a specification based testing technique in which we group the input data into logical partitions called equivalence classes. So now let me give you an example, guys. So suppose you have an input field which takes the values from 0 to 500. Now you cannot test each and every values, right? Let's say 1 to 500. Just take an example like 1 to 500. Now you cannot test each and every values like 1 2 3 4 5 up to 500. So how you divide into different equivalence class partition, right? How you do the partitioning over here. So let's say we have like 500 minus 500 to 0, 1 to 100 to or 101 to 200, 201 to 300, 301 to 400, and 401 to 500, and 501 to 600. So these are the possible scenarios, and we can take, these are the different partitions, guys. So minus 500 to 0. So we'll take one value from minus 500 to 0. So let's say we'll test for minus 200. This is one value. 200 will take only one value. So let's say we are going to take 50 from here. 101 to 200 will take let's say 151. 200 to 300 we will take 210. 301 to 400 will take 350. Similarly, we'll take between 401 to 500 and 501 to 600. So these are the different partitions, and we'll take only one values. So how many number of test cases we derived? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Only 7 test cases. We'll test only for 7 values. Now let's see like what are the positive test cases and what are negative here. So minus 500 to 0 is this, it should not accept this one, right? Because the range is from 1 to 500. So this is invalid, or this is invalid value for this particular testing, right? 1 to 100 it should accept, 100 to 200, 201 to 300, this is also good test data. 301 to 400, 401 to 500, that is also, and this is again kind of negative scenarios, 501 to 600. So out of 7, 5 is positive test cases and 2 is negative. So this is how you can derive the test cases based on equivalence class partitioning. Let's talk about another example in the next slide, guys. Any mail ID fields accepts alphanumeric data, correct? So what are the valid data here? A to Z. A to Z is valid data. All special characters are invalid data. A to Z uppercase and A to Z smaller case, and 0 to 9 alphanumeric, since it is alphanumeric, alpha and numeric, right? Alphabetical and numeric values. So all these are valid data and this is invalid data, all special characters. If a text field accepts 1000 to 500, the partition should be, what are the partitions, different partitions over here. So valid data we have 1000 to 1500, and invalid if you see A to Z, because this is numeric only, and A to Z in uppercase, number less than 1000 and number greater than 1500, and all special characters. So these are the different partitions, like here we have 2 and 3, 5 and 6 partitions we have divided, and only which this is the valid data. So this is how, this is another example of equivalence class partitioning, guys. This is another couple of examples. Now let's talk about decision table testing. This is an important test design technique, guys. Decision table testing is software testing technique used to test the system behavior for different input combinations. So generally what happens is we test for different input combinations, and one side we have different input combinations, another side we have different rules based on those combinations, right? So I'll talk about that in detail in the next slide. In this methodology, the various input combinations and the accompanying system behavior are tabulated. So based on combinations, different input combinations, and what is the behavior, right? System behavior are tabulated. So in tabular format we write the, we design the test cases. We'll derive test cases from that tabular format, from that table, right? So this is systematic approach. And decision table testing is black box test design technique, guys. Behavioral, or you can say behavior based testing technique. When a system has complex business rules, then the decision table testing technique helps in identifying the correct test cases. When we have complex business rules, then we go for decision table testing. We have different input combinations, and based on that we have different rules. Then we derive in this tabular format, will derive different test cases from that tabular format, from that table. Let's take an example of this decision table, guys. So how to create a login screen decision based table. Let's make a login screen with decision table. So a login screen with user ID and password input boxes and submit button. So whenever we see the login screen, so we have a username field, password, and then we have submit button. The condition is simple. If the user provides correct username and password, then user will be redirected to home page. If any of the input is wrong, like username or password, an error message will be displayed. So this is an example of decision table testing. So how do we derive the test cases based on decision table, right? So we have conditions over here. In this first column we have conditions. So we have username, T is nothing but true and false. Here we have true and false, password true and false, and output error or home page. Now let's talk about rule 1, what it says. So username we have true, password we have true, then we should get to the home page. When we enter correct username, correct password, then we should get home page, right? When we click on submit button after entering correct username and correct password. What about rule 2, what it says? If username is correct but password field is wrong, password is wrong, then we should get error message. What rule 3 says? If username is false and password is correct, username is false and password is correct, then we should get error message again. And if both are wrong, right, username and password both are incorrect, then we should get error message. So these are the different rules, guys, and from here we can derive 4 number of test cases. This is first, second, third and fourth test cases, right? So this is about decision-able testing. So what we have learned from here, what is our interpretation, what are the different test cases? Username and password both were correct. User navigated to home page. Username was correct but the password was wrong. The user shown an error message. Third is username was wrong but password is correct, then user shown the error message. And last one is if both are incorrect, then we should get the error message. So while converting these two test cases, we can create 2 scenarios. First one, so to create this four test cases, right? So there are basically, if you see, there are 2 scenarios generally. So one is enter username and password correct, username and password correct, and click on submit button. So that is positive test cases. And negative, we have 3 scenarios: username and incorrect password. So these 2 are 2 scenarios. One is correct username and password, and another one is either one of them is wrong. So this is how we derive 4 test cases using decision table. Now let's talk about state transition. So state transition helps to analyze behavior of an application for different input conditions, guys. So in this state test, outputs are triggered by changes to the input condition or changes to the state of the system. In other words, tests are designed to execute valid and invalid state transitions. So basically we test on different like valid and invalid states of any system. So this is when we have any application which has sequence rules, right? I mean sequence. When we have some sequence, then this test design techniques is very useful. So take an example. It is black box testing, which is used for real time system with various states and transition involved. So what happens? Let's say, let me give you an example so that you can understand whatever we have discussed here in theoretical, right? So let's say you are going to ATM and you insert your card. You want to withdraw the money. So what happens if you insert the card and enter the wrong password? So it will ask you to enter the password again. Your password is incorrect, so it will ask you to enter the password again. And from here, if you enter the correct password, then you will navigate to the you will be able to withdraw the amount. And in this second attempt, again you will if you are not able to enter the correct password, then it will go for the third. Again, if you enter the wrong password, then again it will go for the next attempt. So I think maximum it will be allowed 3 attempts to enter your password. So these are the different states, guys. So this is like here, from here, if you in the first attempt we have tried, right? So it goes to the next attempt, and there are a couple of states over here. One is valid, where when we enter the correct password, then we should be able to get our money. And if you enter the wrong password, then it will try for the next attempt. So this is an example of state transition. Let's understand this in the next slide. in detail. Yeah, so when to use state transition? So this can be used when a tester testing the application for finite set of input values. So this is the one of the criteria for state transition, like we should have some finite set of input values when we have sequence of events that occur in associated conditions that apply to those events. So take an example of that which I have given you of ATM machine. So there we have finite set of input values, right? We know like 3 times it will allow, and the 4th attempt it will block my card, correct? This will allow the tester to test the application behavior for a sequence of input values. When to not rely on state transition? So when the testing is not done for sequential input combination. So when we don't have any sequence in particular sequence, then we cannot go for this state transition, because in sequence, like when we withdraw the money, so this is in particular sequence, right? When we enter the correct password or incorrect password, there are certain stages or certain state. So this is kind of particular sequence. So when testing is not done for sequential input combination, then we cannot go for this state transition. If the testing is to be done for different functionalities like exploratory testing, then we cannot go for this state transition. So take an example for this state transition, guys. So let's consider a login page function where if user enters invalid password 3 times, the account will be logged. Correct? Take an example of that, the previous example which I have given, ATM machine, or if you are logging any screen. So it will also allow like 3 times to enter the correct password if you are entering the wrong password multiple times. So in this system, if user enters a valid password in any of the first 3 attempts, the user will be logged in successfully. If the user enters the invalid password the first or second try, the user will be asked to re-enter the password. And finally, if the user enters incorrect password 3rd time, the account will be blocked. So how we derive this state transition table, guys? So we have different states over here. Start S1 start, S2 first attempt, S3 second attempt, S4 third attempt, like that. S5 granted, access granted, and S6 account blocked. So how you can let me just explain it better. So let's say we have different states over here: S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, and S6. So these are the different states, guys. So the first one is start. When we start, so when we enter the correct password in S1 and in S1 state, so it will go to S5 state directly. S5 is nothing but granted, access granted. So we should be able to access the application. If we enter the wrong password, so there are 2 conditions in each and every state. So in this first state, if we enter the correct password, then we go to S5. If we enter the wrong password, then we go to S2. S2 is first attempt, correct? First attempt. Now again here 2 conditions. If we enter the correct password, we'll go to S5, otherwise we'll move to S3. S3, again we have 2 conditions. If we enter the correct password, we'll go to S5, otherwise S4. Now what happens at S4? S4 we have third attempt. If we enter the correct password, S4 will go to S5, obviously, correct? And if we enter the incorrect password, so we'll go to S6. What is S6? Account blocked. Your account will be blocked based on multiple times you have tried with incorrect password. So this is state transition, guys. Now let's talk about the next one. So in this table, when we enter the user enters the incorrect pin, enter the correct pin, state is transition to S5, which is access granted. And if user enters a wrong password, he moves to the next state. If he does not, if he or she does the same third time, it will reach the account blocked state. So these are the different state, right? We have access granted state and we have account blocked, and it gives previous different states as well, like S2, S3, S4, which we have discussed. Now let's talk about error guessing testing, guys. So already I have covered a video on this one, so you can go to the playlist and you can watch that particular video on error guessing testing technique. So what it says, let me just give a brief about error guessing testing. So testing is conducted by performing invalid operations and validate the error message is displaying or not. So this is kind of experience based testing, guys. So if you have very good knowledge on application, or if you are experienced tester, or if you have very good analytical skills, so that then you can use this testing technique. Like you will assume in any application, like what is invalid operation when I perform, so what the error message I should get, right? So it's based on error guessing. You are guessing the error, like if I performing this action, so I should get particular message. So the error message should be meaningful to understand. So when we perform some operations like valid or invalid operations, generally invalid operations when we perform based on this testing technique, so we should get a proper error message. So it is a type of testing method in which prior experience in testing is used to uncover the defects in software testing, right? In the software, it is an experience based testing technique in which the tester uses his or her past experience or intuition to gauge the problematic areas of software application. So this is the main purpose. Like when you have good experience or you use your past experience, then you can gauge more number of like problematic areas of the application. Let's take an example of this error guessing testing, guys. So we need to test a program which reads a file. So what happens if the program gets a file which is empty or the file does not exist? So whenever we test, let's say we are uploading a file in the system, and simply we'll upload a file and we'll verify whether it is working or not, whether it is taking that file or not. But we should also think about, like, if we upload empty file, then what will happen if the file does not exist, and if you try to upload it, what will happen, something like that, right? So this is an example of error guessing testing. Another one is enter blank space into text field. Let's say this is the text field, and suppose I'm entering my name Hitendra underscore, like I'm giving a space and Verma. So what will happen, right? Sometimes developer develop the application in such a way that there should not be any space in the text field. So we should consider we should test these kind of scenarios as well as part of error guessing. And if you enter like this, then what should be the error message? Like the name is not proper, or incorrect name, something like that, we should get the error. Use maximum limits of files to be uploaded. This is another example of error guessing testing, guys. So these are the different testing design techniques, guys. 5 testing design techniques we talked about. So if you have any doubts or if you have any comments, then please write your queries in the comment box of this video, and please like, share this video, and if you are new to this channel, then please subscribe this channel as well and click the bell icon to get the notification for upcoming videos. Thank you guys for watching, and please visit my website as well, automationtestinginsider.com. we have different notes over here about all kind of testing. So thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to cover an important topic, that is test case review process. So this is an important phase in testing life cycle, guys, important process in testing life cycle. So today we are going to talk about what do you mean by test case review process, and why do we do test case review process, and what are the different types of reviews, and at last we'll talk about like what are the problems which we can find while doing the review process, or what are the mistakes which we can find during review process, and how to rectify them, and how we can improve our testing process. So let's get started. So test case review process is an important process to follow in software testing. Test case should be effective and also follow the standards to write the test cases. So whenever we write the test cases, guys, it should be effective. It should be effective enough to find more number of defects, and also we should follow the standards. Standards is nothing but we should follow the proper naming convention while writing the test cases. We should follow the templates provided by the company, and the steps should be very much clear so that anyone can understand that. After preparation of the test cases, a review are conducted to ensure the completeness and correctness of the test cases, proper flow and maximum test coverage. So these are the points which are taken care while doing the review process. So it should be the test cases should be completed properly, and correctness. So we should write the correct test cases, right? So we need to check whether it is correct or not, like steps are properly written or not. Of the test cases proper flow. So let's say we are testing any functionality, and we need to check the proper workflow of that particular functionality. So that is written or not, we need to check while doing the test case review process. And maximum test coverage, so whether we have covered all the functionalities or not as part of test case review process. So these are the points which are taken care while doing the test case review process. The test lead or project manager have to approve the test cases. Once review is done, then test lead or project manager approves the test cases. During this review process, if the reviewer find any mistakes, he or she writes in a separate document which is known as review document, and send it back to the author. So guys, we have a separate review document as well, where we'll write what are the review points, or in some templates in the test case itself, remarks column is there or comments column is there, review comments column. So we'll put our comments there, whoever reviewing the test cases, and we will send it back to the author of the test cases, who will again work on whatever points we have mentioned in the review document. Now let's talk about test case review techniques, or what are the different types of test case review process, right? So the first one is self review. This is carried out by the tester who wrote the test cases by looking at the SRS or FRD, software requirement specification or functional requirement document. He or she can see if all the requirements are met or not. So self review, whenever we return the test cases, guys, even we do the review process. So that is nothing but self review process. Who return the test cases will do the self review, whether we have covered all the points from BRD or not, whether we have covered all the scenarios and we have properly converted them into the test cases. So that is nothing but the self review process. Another one is peer review. So before test lead, the test case is reviewed by another team member who is not familiar with the system, is called peer review. Maker and checker are other names of the same thing. So let's say tester, we have couple of tester A and tester B, and this is working on module X and this is working on module Y. So A is not aware of module Y, and tester B is not aware of module X. But whenever we write the test cases, if tester A writes the test cases, it will be reviewed by tester B, and tester B whatever test cases he has written, it will be reviewed by tester A. So like that is nothing but because these two guys are at the same level. So that is what we call it as peer review. And later on it will be reviewed by the test lead or test manager. Maker, we used to call it as maker, and checker are the other two names for the same thing, like peer review. And third one is supervisory review. This is done by a team lead or project manager who is higher in rank than the tester who wrote the test cases and has an extensive understanding of the requirements and system. So generally what happens, guys, most of the cases we follow these two process, like self review and peer review. These are the mandatory process which we used to follow. Like always we used to do self review and later on peer review, and sometimes it is reviewed by test lead or test manager as well in some cases. So that is not mandatory, but in some cases it is reviewed by the lead as well. So this is about test case review techniques, guys. Now what are the common mistakes which are checked during test case review process? Okay, so incomplete test case, missing negative test cases, no test data, inappropriate or incorrect test data. So these are the points which we review while doing the test case review process. Incomplete test cases, if test cases are not written properly, missing negative scenarios or negative test cases, if test data are not provided, or inappropriate test data or incorrect test data, right? So these are the different points which are taken care during the test case review process. Spelling errors can sometimes cause a lot of confusion or make a statement difficult to grasp. So this is another point which can be checked during the test case review process. Spelling errors can sometimes cause a lot of confusions, right? While review process, it is very important to check whether all the standards and guidelines are properly followed or not. So what do you mean by standards? Whether we have written with the proper naming convention, whether we have used the right template or not, the right version of the template, and some guidelines, the test case written guidelines, whether we have followed all those or not. So that is done during the review process. If proper template is followed, then it becomes easy to add modified test cases in future, and test case plan looks organized. Correct? This is what I have talked about. If the grammar is incorrect, the test case can be misinterpreted, right, leading to incorrect findings. And another thing is, test cases should have a very simple language which is easy to understand. So which should be very much easy to understand by another tester who doesn't know the functionality of these test cases, right, or this functionality, whatever we have written the test cases. So it should be very much clear, the step by step you should write the test cases. Replication, it refers to the duplicate test cases removal. It is possible that two or more test cases test the same thing and can be merged into one. This would save time and space. So we should always check whether in case of any duplication in the test cases. So this is also done while doing the review process. This can be also checked while doing the review process. Test case which are uselessness due to change in requirements or some modifications, such test cases must be removed. If some test cases are useless or change in requirements, if it is not updated as per the requirements, so those test cases should be modified or can be removed from the test cases template. So these are the different points, guys, about the review process, and it's very important whenever we write the test cases, it should be properly reviewed by our peer or a test lead. So these are the points you should take care while writing the test cases. And still, if you have any doubts or if you want to put any points, then please write in the comment box, and please like this video, share it, and comment as I have discussed if you have any points, and subscribe to this channel as well. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So guys, as a tester, when we write the test cases, once authoring of the test cases is completed, then we do self-review, and once self-review is done, then we go for peer review of our test cases. Once peer review is done, then we go for supervisory review, which is usually done by test lead or test manager. And once that review process is done, they will approve the test cases. Test lead or test manager will approve the test cases. Now we got the final version of our test cases, correct, which is approved version. Now that should be stored or placed, or you can say that can be uploaded to a repository, that is nothing but test case repository. That is called test case repository. It could be your SharePoint, which is provided by a company which you have access, or it could be SVN, or it could be any share folder. Okay, so any kind of configuration management tools, or it could be a project management tool like Jira. So today we'll discuss about what you mean by test case repository, guys. So let's get started. So a test case repository is a centralized location, centralized so that all the team members can access, whoever has access can get the test cases from that repository, where all the baseline test cases, baseline is nothing but whatever test cases are approved. It's not about just test cases, all the approved documents should be placed in repository or centralized location. Test repository comprises test cases that encompass all key possibilities of permutations and combinations in workflow, execution and transaction.
ensuring that all variations in system and user interactions are covered. So basically the meaning of this line is, this point is, all the functionalities whatever we have covered, whatever test cases we have written, should be placed in a repository called test case repository. A test case repository is used to store approved test cases only. This is what we have discussed at the beginning. Any test engineer wants to test the application, then he or she needs to access the test cases only from that test case repository. So let's say if tester A has written the test cases and B is going to execute the test cases, so he will access the repository and get the test cases from there, which are approved ones, okay, and then he can execute the test cases. If we do not require any test cases, we can drop them from the test case repository. If some test cases are useless or that is not in use, then we can drop from the repositories. Each version have a separate test cases repository, so we should properly maintain in repository, guys, all the versions of the test cases. So this is about test case repository, guys. So if you have any comments, then please write in the comment box. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to talk about an important topic, that is traceability matrix. So what do you mean by traceability matrix? So it is the mapping of requirement to the test cases. So let me just further explain. So whenever we get the requirement and whenever we start the testing process, so it is a document where we map requirement to the scenarios, from scenarios to test cases, and from test cases we map the defects. So this is the complete mapping. This document talks about the complete mapping of requirement to the scenarios, to the test cases and defects. And there are couple of things or couple of advantages of having traceability matrix, guys. So the first thing is complete coverage of the testing. Complete coverage of the testing. How we do the complete coverage? Because we make sure that each requirement has at least one test case, one or more than one test case. Okay guys, so this ensures the complete coverage of the testing. Another point is it helps us to find the root cause of the defect. How we get the root cause of the defect? Because it is mapping to the defects as well. So from defect we will find out like which test case it belongs to. From test case we'll find out what is the scenario, and from scenario what is the requirement. So this is how we can get the root cause of the defect. So this is a very important document, guys, as far as testing is concerned. So let's talk more about traceability matrix. In this document, the test cases are mapped to the corresponding requirement to ensure the coverage of the test cases, to find any gap between requirement and test cases. It is also known as requirement traceability matrix, RTM, or cross reference matrix, RTM or CRM. These are the other names, guys. It is prepared before the test execution process. So basically we have three types of traceability matrix. We have forward traceability matrix, that is done before the execution process. So usually we do the traceability before the execution process, but there is another traceability matrix we have backward, which is done after the execution, guys, and another we have bidirectional. So these are the three types of traceability matrix which we'll discuss in coming slides. This document is designed to make sure that each requirement has a test case. The test engineer will prepare traceability matrix for their respective assigned modules, and then it will be sent to the test lead. Later, test lead will consolidate all the traceability matrix, all the documents, and prepare one traceability matrix for the project. So this is how usually we used to do that. So what are the goals of traceability matrix? It allows you to see if a requirement is fully documented or not. A requirement traceability matrix can even call attention to missing requirements. So this is, we used to call attention to missing requirement.
It ensures that the software completely meets the customer requirements. A traceability matrix can help in effort to provide proper and consistent documentation for your team. Provide proper and consistent documentation for your team. In the effort to provide, so it helps us to estimate the effort as well. It helps in detecting the root cause of any bug, so which we have discussed at the beginning of this video. So this is the simple sample of traceability matrix, guys. So here I have taken an example of Gmail application. Gmail. So here we have different columns. So we have serial number, and the second one is requirement ID. So here we have business requirement 1, BR1 1.0. So this is how we used to write the requirement ID. And the next one is requirement description. What is the requirement description? Summary of the requirement description. So here we have inbox, to test the inbox of Gmail. Another column we have is scenario. So what are the scenarios for this particular requirement, like for inbox? So we have mails, we have to mails sending the compose the emails, or the second one is reply, and then we have forward emails. So these are the three scenarios, and we have corresponding test cases to the scenarios. So here we have 5 test cases about this mail scenario, right? So here we have written like test case underscore Gmail, the project, and then mail, the scenario, and 01. So 01, 02, these are the test case ID, guys. Now test case description. So summary of the test cases, like check the mail in the inbox, verify the open email, verify the read email, verify the downloads and attachment. So these are the 5 test cases we map to this particular scenario. 5 test cases, right? Similarly we have reply, so couple of test cases for this reply emails. Now here we have test results. What is the result of the of our test cases? Like, so out of 5 we have 1 pass, this is also pass, the second one is failed, correct, and there is another one is failed. And we have corresponding, we are mapping to the defect ID as well. So here we map with the defects as well. So here I have given the defect ID, another column. And what is the defect status? So this is in open state, so if it is closed, so we can make it as closed as well. And here we have defect 2, corresponding we have status. So this is how we map to the requirement, from the requirement to the scenario to the test cases and test results and defect ID, guys. So this is the complete tracking of our testing activities, correct, complete mapping of our requirements. So this is traceability matrix. So in the next video I'll show you the real-time template of traceability matrix as well, guys. Now let's move forward to the next slide. What are the types of traceability matrix? So the traceability matrix can be classified into 3 types, which are as follows, which we have discussed at the beginning of this video, which is forward traceability matrix, the first one. This is also called horizontal traceability matrix as well. Another one is backward or reverse traceability, or this is also called vertical traceability matrix. Another one is bidirectional traceability. Now let's talk about each one of them in detail. So what is forward traceability matrix, guys? So forward traceability is used to map the requirements to the test cases, right? So how we do that? So whenever we get the requirement from the customer, when we start writing the test cases, so this is done before the execution. This is done before the execution, test case execution process. So we'll write all the requirements in the document, and then we'll map to each whatever test cases we have authored. So this helps to trace all the activities, right, all the requirements, whether we have captured the required test cases or not, in case of this forward traceability. So not only this will establish that every requirement is being tested from top to bottom, but it will also assist in confirming that project's trajectory is sound. The main objective of this to verify whether the product developments are going in the right direction or not. So whenever we have any change in the requirement, so we'll update the requirement from requirement got it will update by the BA, and then further we'll update our test cases as well, and then we'll map to the right test cases. So this is how it is happening when we follow this forward traceability matrix. So this goes in forward direction, correct. So later on we'll execute the test cases based on whatever test cases we have written, correct, and then we'll map to the whether what is the result of the test cases and then defects as well. This is forward traceability matrix. Now if you talk about backward or reverse traceability matrix, or this is also called vertical traceability matrix. So you can make a backward traceability matrix by mapping test cases with the requirements. So this is just reverse, guys. From the test cases we map to the requirements. So this is usually done after the execution. So once our execution is done, once we got the requirement from the customer, so we have written the test cases. Now execution is done. Now from the execution we'll map to the requirements, correct, and this is usually done when there is no scope of changing the requirement in the application. So the reverse or backward traceability is used to check that we are not increasing the space of the product by enhancing the design elements, code, test, other things which are not mentioned in the business needs. So this is the main important point of the backward traceability matrix. So basically we use these when the scope of development is not changing frequently or not changing, right? So the main objective of this, that existing project remains in the correct direction. Another one, we have bidirectional traceability. So what do you mean by bidirectional traceability matrix? So bidirectional traceability essentially combines forward and backward traceability into one document. So this is the combination of both, like forward and backward, guys. So and usually done before the execution and after the execution. So from the requirement to the test cases and from test cases to the requirement. This type is useful because it establishes that each requirement has relating test cases. It also evaluates the modification in the requirement which is occurring due to the bugs in the application. Let's say if any particular requirement is not correct and we got the defect, or if any requirement is missing, so this evaluates the modification in the requirement which is occurring due to the bugs in the application. So these are the three types of traceability matrix, guys. So if you have any questions related to any of the traceability matrix, then please let me know. Please write your queries in the comment box, and if you are new to this channel, then please subscribe this channel and click the bell icon to get the notification for upcoming videos. So probably in the next video I'll showcase you the real-time traceability matrix template. So thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to showcase you the real-time test requirement traceability matrix template. So guys, in the last video we talked about what you mean by traceability matrix and what are the different types of traceability matrix. If you haven't watched that video, then please go and watch that video first and then come back to this video so that you can understand better. So as part of this video we'll talk about this test requirement traceability matrix template and what are the different fields we have in detail. So guys, if you really need this template, then please mention your email ID in the comment box of this video so that I can send this template to your email ID. So let's talk about this requirement traceability matrix in detail about this particular template. So as part of this template, guys, we have different fields over here, like project name. So we need to mention the project name over here, project ID, project manager, project type. What is the type of project we have? So all the details we need to fill before we start to use this template. And we have create date and last updated on and client name. So these are the different details we need to fill before we start using this template. And whenever we update the template, we need to mention the last updated date over here. Create date will be the start date when we start using this template. Now the next thing is, what are the different columns we have, correct? So we have serial number, first one, serial number, and requirement ID. What is the requirement ID? So we got the business requirement document from the customer, or which is prepared by the business analyst. So we have different points over there, right? Business requirement points. So here we need to mention all the requirements point so that we can map to the corresponding test cases. So here we have business requirement 1.0. So if you remember, last time I have taken an example of Gmail application. So based on the different scenarios or test cases, I have used this template for now. So here we can see BR 1.0. So we have corresponding, what is the requirement description, inbox, okay,
And source of requirements, so there are two types of source of requirements. Either it could be new requirement or change request. So this particular, let's say this is just an example. Okay, so this particular requirement is new requirement. And what are the different scenarios we have? So we have three scenarios: mails, reply, and forward emails for this new requirement, and we have corresponding 5 test cases. So this is how we map from the requirement, right? So 5 test cases we have written for this particular requirement, which is BR 1.0. And here we have in this column, so this is the test case ID column, and here we have test case description, summary of the test cases here. So for 5 test cases we have mentioned like what is the description of each ID, each test case ID. So check the mail in the inbox, verify the open email, whether we can open the email or not, verify the unread email, verify the downloads and attachment in the email, verify to navigate to different pages. Now we have corresponding test results, another column. What are the results of the test cases? So we have pass, fail, like that. And we will map to the defects as well. So here we have mentioned defect 01, and what is the status of the defect at last column. So here we have open defect, or if it is closed then we need to mention like closed. So this is how we we can map different requirements to the scenarios and the test cases and the results and defects. So this is kind of mapping, guys, for the all the testing activities. So this is called test requirement traceability matrix. And if we have, let's say, if for any project we have different requirements, right? So as part of business requirement document, so we have, this is BR 1.1. so here this is BR 1.0, and here we have 1.1. so similarly we need to list down all the BR points over here, all the business requirement document, business requirement ID. Now if you see this template, so the first sheet is summary. So this is summary of requirement traceability matrix. So how many what are the total number of requirements? So here we have 16. What are the new requirements? So 9 are the new requirements. What are the change requests? So 7 are the change requests. Requirements approved, so 5 of them are approved, 4 are not approved. Requirements deferred, so 4 of them are deferred means we will make into the next release. Okay. Requirements rejected, so 3 requirements are rejected due to various reasons. Okay, if that is not feasible, or if any requirement is not clear, or maybe it is not I would say like it is not feasible with the application, so we can reject those requirements. That is part of business analyst. So this is summary of requirement traceability matrix, guys. Now the last one is, so the first tab is summary, second one is requirement traceability matrix, and third one is revision history. So here we need to mention the serial number and date of the date whenever we update this requirement traceability matrix. What is the version number? So initially we will give like version 1, and date will give, and prepared by who is the tester who is going to prepare this traceability matrix, and it should be approved by the higher authority. Like if tester is preparing this traceability matrix, then test lead should review it and approve it. And if you have any remarks, then we need to mention in the remarks column. So this is about this traceability matrix, guys. So if you really need this, then please please mention your email ID in the comment box of this video, so that I can send you this traceability matrix. So this is all for today, guys. And if you are new to my channel, then please subscribe this channel and click the bell icon to get the notification for upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello friends, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to talk about an important topic, that is use case. So in this particular video I'm going to talk about what do you mean by use case, what is the need of use case, what are the different types of use cases, and at last we'll discuss about what is the difference between use case and test case. So let's get started with the definition of use case. What do you mean by use case? So it describes the system behavior or system functionality as per end user, or you can say end user perspective. So Use case is nothing but the system behavior, how the system behaves as per the end user. So basically it describes the system behavior as per end user perspective. Now the question arises here is, why do we need use cases, right? So whenever we work on any project, so whenever we get the project, so what is the first criteria? So the first thing is get the requirement from the client. Get the requirement from the client whenever we start the project, and those requirements will be converted into different business requirement documents. Let's say we have business requirement document, we have BRS, business requirement specification, or FRS. So these are the different documents prepared by business users or business analyst, right? So we'll write down all the requirements over here. Now the use cases will be derived from these documents. So these are the detailed documentation, right? All the requirements are captured in these documents, but the system behavior is not described over here. So what business users will do, they will create the use cases, how the system behaves exactly as per end user, how they are going to use how our client is going to use the system. So they prepare the use cases, which is derived from these documents, and this is prepared by business user or business analyst, or you can say business analyst, right? And from here use cases are delivered to or transferred to development team. Use cases will be given to development team and testing team. So developer will uses those use cases and design their system and implemented the changes or implemented the requirements. So this is how they will do based on the use cases, because the system behaviors are defined or given in the use cases. Similarly, testers will use those use cases to derive the test cases, detail level test cases from those use cases, business use cases. So this is the flow, guys, and let's talk more about use cases. So it explains the functionality or requirement. The customer requirement or project requirement can be specified in the use cases. Use case is representation of actions which describes the behavior of the system to do a particular task and accomplish the goal. So what is the need of use case? To get the certain goal, right? To perform some task and to achieve the goal. So that is the purpose of use cases. It is a technique that helps to identify the test cases, and as I have explained earlier, from use cases we can derive our test cases. It is a description of particular use of the system by a user, and there are few things which are important in use cases. So the first thing is actor. Who is going to use the system? Actor. The second thing is system. So actor will use the system to derive the use cases, and third is use cases. So these are the three I would say the participants: actor, system, and use cases. So actor will participate in the system to derive the use cases, business use cases. So let's talk about what are the different types of use cases. So we have two types of use cases: diagrammatic use cases. The functionality is explained in the diagrammatic format, and the second one is technical use cases. It explains the functionality or requirement in technical way. Let's talk about them in detail. So what is diagrammatic use cases? So a use case diagram is graphical depiction of users' possible interaction with the system, and the use cases are represented by either circles or ovals. There are different use cases. So actor can be represented like this, and if you remember, guys, probably you might have aware of UML, that is a unified modeling technique, unified modeling language in fact. So using that
we create the flow diagram for the use cases. So there are different use case like sequence diagram, it explains the flow or path. We have activity diagram, it explains the task performance, how we are going to perform using the activity diagram. And state transaction diagram, it shows the functionality or a state changing from one state to another state. So these are the different ways to create the use cases using diagrammatic use cases. Let me give you an example of diagrammatic use cases. So let's say let's talk about student management system. Student management system. So here we have an actor which is student, and here we have another actor called teacher. Now what are the different use cases in this student management system? So the first use case we can represent using oval. So check attendance. Check attendance is one use case. Another use case could be check timetable. This is another use case. Another could be check timetable, attendance, or we can say score, test score. What is your test score? So this is another use case. Another use case could be update attendance. Another use case, update score. This is another use case. So we have different use cases in this student management system. Check attendance, which is which will be used by both student and teacher, right guys? And check timetable, which will be used by both student and teacher. Check timetable. We have check test score, so which will be used by both student and teacher again. Now we have another use case which is update attendance. So who is going to update the attendance, which is done by teacher. And the last one is update score, which will be done by again teacher. So these are the different use cases, and we have two actors, student and teacher, and this is the whole student management system, which will be represented using rectangle, right? So this is complete student management system, guys, an example of use cases. So these are the different use cases we have represented using oval shape. Now let's move on another thing, technical use cases. So for the technical use cases, below are the details. So we should have some details. We used to create some format of the technical use cases. So use case ID should be there, a unique number of every case. Use case name should be given. Goal of the use case, objective requirement, importance. So certain levels we give, like importance level, high, medium, low. Frequency of use, how frequently the requirement is used. Actors, the user who has permission to access the requirement. And we have precondition, condition to be satisfied to work with the requirement, just like we used to give in test cases. Description, business functionality. Post condition, output or result. Assumption, if any assumption or implicit requirement is given. And approval of use cases. So this is, and another one is changes in requirement. Again, one more, if any changes are there in the requirement. So this is detail level use cases, which is nothing but the technical use case. Now let's talk about the difference between use case and test case. So use case is a representation of actions which describes the behavior of a system to do a particular task, to achieve a goal, or to perform certain tasks to achieve desired output is nothing but the use case which we have discussed earlier. Test case contains the test data, set of instructions to follow and results of the following instructions. So already we have spoken about many a times about the test cases earlier. I have created the test case template as well, like what are the we have expected result, actual result, fail pass criteria, test data, everything we have as part of test cases. The second difference is use cases are prepared on requirements from BRS, as we have discussed. Test cases are prepared on use cases. So ideally, if you see the process, so use cases should be prepared from the business requirement documents like BRS or FRD or FRS, and test cases are prepared on use cases. The use cases cannot be implemented, which implies that it is only designed, whereas the test cases is designed and later we implemented them. Later we will execute the test cases as well. So basically use cases are executed by business users only, and test cases are executed by testers. So generally, if you see the use cases just for design purpose, right, for designing purpose, to later we use those use cases to implement to design the system as per the development perspective, and design the test cases as per testers perspective. The objective of use case is to get a certain output after the set of operations. The objective of test case is to ensure the system is working fine for each given instruction and yields the required result. The use case is graphic representation of client requirements. This is another simple definition of use case. The use case is graphic representation of client requirements. The test case is only documented in an Excel sheet. It is working as following the step-by-step function ability of the software. It is working with the help of testers to validate the software. Business user executes the use cases. Testers executes the test cases. End result is important in all steps are to be executed together in use case. All steps are important and may have a separate result. So this is the difference between use case and test case, guys. And still, if you have any questions related to use cases, please write down your questions in the comment box of this video. Please subscribe this channel, like and share this video, and comment as I have explained earlier if you have any doubts. And thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Hello friends, welcome back to another video of Automation Testing Insider. So today I'm going to talk about the difference between test scenario and test case. But before I move forward and talk about the differences between test scenario and test case, let's talk about what exactly a test scenario and a test case. So let's get started with test scenario. So what do you mean by test scenario? So test scenario describes the end-to-end functionality to be tested in any application. So what do you mean by that? So let me just talk about some more features about the test scenario. So test scenario focuses on what to test in any application, what to test, and it is high level documentation, or we can say it has one-liner information. Mostly it has one-liner information. So it is high level documentation, guys. And test scenario derived from business requirement document or functional requirement specification. So it is derived from business requirement document or functional requirement document. So these are the different characteristics about the test scenario. Let me just give some examples about the test scenario. Some example. So let's say we are testing e-commerce website. This is e-commerce website. Now what are the different test scenarios of this e-commerce website? So the first page is login page. So we are at login page. So we can say the login functionality. Login functionality is one test scenario. and there could be multiple test cases inside this login functionality. So this login functionality is one test scenario. Another test scenario could be home page scenarios, home page. Another scenario could be in e-commerce website we are searching the product, so searching product itself is a scenario, searching product. This is another scenario. And another scenario could be adding the product into cart, so that is another scenario. Making the payment or payment is another scenario. So these are the different scenarios. So it covers the end-to-end functionality of any in any application, right? And you can see it has one liner information on the login functionality. If you talk about the login functionality, so it doesn't contains all the information about the login functionality. So we have only high level information in test scenario. So these are the different points about the test scenario. Now if we talk about test case, right? So test case, what are the different information we have? So we have step by step procedure, right? Step by step. Let's say if you talk about the login functionality, so there could be multiple test cases in login functionality. So here we write different steps in test case, and it focuses on two things. First thing, what to test, and second thing is how to test. This is important, how to test. What are the different steps to test any functionality, and what is the test data. So it contains the test data as well, test data, and expected result. So already we have spoken many times about the test cases. So these are the information a test case contains. So it focuses on two things, what to test and how to test, whereas test scenario only talks about what to test. So this is about test scenario and test case. Now let's talk about what are the other differences between test scenario and test case in detail. So this is high level documentation. If you talk about test scenario, which describes an end-to-end functionality to be tested, whereas test case contains test steps, data, expected results for testing all the features of an application. Easy to create and maintain. So since it is high level documentation, so it's very easy to create and maintain, whereas test case is hard to maintain and it's time consuming. We need some time to write the test cases for any functionality. And guys, anybody can execute the test cases if you write the test cases properly in step by step. So anybody can execute the test cases, even the user who doesn't know the application very well. Okay, but whereas if you talk about the test scenario, until unless if you don't know the functionality, you cannot execute the test scenario, right? So this is another difference. Test cases are derived from test scenario. Here test scenarios are derived from test artifacts such as BRS and SRS, software requirement specification and business requirement specification, whereas test cases are derived from test scenarios. It focuses on more what to test than how to test. So it is focuses on what to test rather than how to test, and test case a complete emphasis on what to test and how to test. It helps in an agile way of testing the end-to-end functionality. So agile way of testing means whenever we don't have much time going live of any product, right? So we don't have much time. So in that case, what we can do, we can just write the test scenario and we can execute for that particular sprint. So that is what it is written over here. It helps in an agile way of testing the end-to-end functionality. It helps in exhaustive testing of an application. So if you want detail level testing, so we will follow the test cases, right? Test scenarios are high level actions, test cases are low level actions. Example, checking the login functionality of the software, and here we have checking the login functionality when entering an incorrect password. So there could be different test cases for login functionality, right? Valid password and entering invalid password, valid username and invalid password, invalid username and valid password, and providing both invalid user and invalid password. So these are the different test cases of login functionality, right? So this is how we write test scenario and test cases, and these are difference between test scenario and test case. So guys, thank you for watching this video, and please like, share and comment if you have any questions, and subscribe to this channel if you are new to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye bye.